Hey, welcome to the Cross Points podcast. Russ Tuttle is my guest again this week, and I am so excited to continue our conversation from last week. And if you don't know, Russ is also a member of Cross Points Church. He is the founder of the Stop Trafficking Project.
Correct.
And so last week, man, I wanted to have you come back because of all of the great information you were giving us. Maybe for those who didn't hear last week, why don't you kind of share a little bit about the Stop Trafficking Project real quick, and then share us some of the stories that you were kind of engaged with last week too.
Sure. So the Stop Trafficking Project, so we exist to combat domestic minor sex trafficking, which is American kids protected by American law, being sold for unthinkable circumstances, purposes.
So your goal is to end it.
Our goal is to end it.
Yeah, that's good.
Crazy. So we have a strategy we call the Be Alert strategy.
Oh, okay. This is good.
Where we educate and we empower both adults and students. So we educate and empower adults to move from I'm just aware of this to action. That will help my students.
Which is what we want to do today. Last week we felt like we gave you the information, and now we want to move you to, okay, what can we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we also educate and empower students.
Okay.
Primarily in schools and churches.
Okay.
And help them understand their vulnerabilities.
Okay.
And how they can be exploited. And we unpack that in a fun way and have a lot of great interaction with kids.
You do school assemblies all over, and you've worked with over 50,000 kids, so you've got tons of experience and stories. Let's, again, bring our viewers into, this isn't just happening out there. It is happening out there, but it's also happening here in Kansas City.
That's right.
And so kind of share with us, so bring us back into the conversation.
Yeah, so schools and churches have opened up all throughout Missouri and Kansas.
Okay.
And so we have done surveys to over 50,000 students.
Right.
As part of the evidence-based criteria that is needed in schools.
Okay.
If we're going to have you come, we're going to give you time to talk to our students about this topic.
Right.
And the misnomer is this: we don't come into schools and churches to talk about sex trafficking and human trafficking, even though as an organization that's what we're here to end.
Okay.
What we have found is that we have to be on the very front end of this so that this kind of exploitation can never enter into the windshield of our students' lives as they're driving down the highway of life.
Okay.
So we are hyper vigilant on the awareness, prevention, and understanding the three words we unpacked last week about the exploitation of vulnerability.
Okay.
So what we need adults to understand is that in the surveys we're giving to our American kids right here in the Midwest, between the ages of 5th grade and 12th grade, right now as the data sits, we're sitting at around 35% of our kids are highly vulnerable to being exploited. What that means is they are telling us in surveys where they check a box.
Sure.
I've either met a complete stranger in person, I first met online, or I'm active in sending nudes of myself through social media and or others.
35%.
Yes.
Is the statistic that you're...
So what's in?
I think again,
it's hard to grasp.
It is, because I'm thinking, like, as a parent, 35%. I'm thinking about Cross Points Church.
Yep.
I'm thinking about the kids across. You're saying 35% on average. That is what we're dealing with here.
So you do a deeper dive on average in elementary age.
Oh, I don't even know if I want to know this, but go ahead.
We're in the upper teen percentages of the number of kids engaged in activities. You get into middle school ages, we're hitting around the 30-ish percentage. This is 40,000 foot elevation, obviously.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
And then by the time we get to high school, it's very common to bump in the 50% range.
Yeah. So what does that look like? The 35%, you mentioned a little bit last week, but give me an example. What does that mean?
So these are kids who are getting in a lot of trouble online.
Okay.
And they're doing.
And they're probably troubled kids with drugs and all that other kind of stuff.
Sometimes, but more often than not, no.
It was the tongue-in-cheek question. I was just trying to say it's not just happening to the bad kids.
Yep.
Is that accurate? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
So I'll give you two examples.
Okay.
So recently, a 14-year-old boy came up to me. This is going to be hard to hear, so just disclaimer.
We're putting a disclaimer on both of these.
If you've got kids in the room, this is not a story you want them to hear.
Okay.
14-year-old boy came to me at the end of a school assembly and it revealed to me the first trusted adult he has given this information to, where he said he confides in me he is sexually assaulting a 3-month-old baby. So to your point, I know it's tongue-in-cheek, but to your point, the kids who are in poverty or in the foster care system, or kids who are struggling with their sexual identity in the LGBTQ plus community, all of these things are vulnerabilities. As we talked about last week, this is all about the exploitation of vulnerability. Those are vulnerabilities that are escalated.
I understand. Yes. Okay.
So is he a bad kid? Well, he's certainly doing bad things, but we unpack his story. He's a runner in the foster care system.
Okay.
He was sexually assaulted himself as a 2-year-old by his biological uncle. He discovered pornography through dad, uncles at the age of 4. So based on what we talked about last week with the element that porn plays in this, now this boy's got 10 years of training of what is somewhat normalized behavior. So it was not that big of a deal for him to jump into that. Now the problem is now not only had he done these things, but he was talking about these things online.
Right. Right.
Well, there's a niche of predators online who like that stuff. Some people love the darkness.
Right. Right.
And they began to reach out to him online.
Okay.
Enticing him. Hey, do you have pictures of what you did?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I'm going to talk about in that case, because this one's pretty recent and a lot of things still going on.
Okay,
so that's your example there. Then you've got 2 weeks ago, 2 girls came to me together. Both of them from great homes, because I asked the questions.
Right.
Moms and dads together, working families, normal middle class America.
We can almost say
Midwest,
typical Johnson County Midwest kids.
Midwest kid, absolutely.
Okay.
And these 2 girls began to unpack how they had gotten in trouble, taken their clothes off, sent pictures to people online. So 2 weeks ago, in our small group, while I was in small group, I got this emergency message from a parent.
Okay.
While we're going through the Work is Worship.
Yes, right. Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I get this emergency message from a parent right here in our community.
Okay.
13-year-old daughter, he just discovered, had just bought a one-way plane ticket to fly to the United Kingdom.
What?
Because she was going to go meet this amazing guy she met online.
Hold it. How old did you say?
13.
13 years old?
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. Great kid.
Right.
Amazing family.
Right.
So
this dad must have been devastated. I mean, it's like, what do you do? What do you say?
What was amazing though is he had actually just been about 6 weeks ago gone through one of our community event presentations.
Okay.
So he knew who to contact.
Wow.
And he's thinking, going, oh my word.
What he said is now really true, and it's happening to my kid.
To my kid. Not my kid.
Right. Right. Which is
Johnson County.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So number 1, parents need to not live in fear.
Okay.
And number 2, parents need to quit trying to be their kid's best friend and be their parent.
Yeah, say that one more time and stare in the camera and talk to our parents, because I think they really need to hear that. And I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's really important, because here's the especially here in Johnson County, we're so busy trying to keep up with all the other families out there. It's okay for you to have your standards that you hold to.
Yeah.
And within our Cross Points family, let's do everything we can to encourage our families to stand for this. It's the biblical mandate that you should be your parent first to your kid. You're not. Don't try to be their best friend. I am told that we'll become our kids' best friends later in life. That's how it is with me and my mom and dad now.
Right. Which is a great relationship to have. But when they're 13, 14, 15, 18, whatever that age is,
they need guidelines.
They need that.
And, and people tell me all the time, how do you go into these school assemblies and hear these horrific stories, and how do you do this? And my answer to that is it is the most humbling honor to be there in the times that these kids need a trusted adult the most.
Yeah.
But there's this understanding, there's this level of righteous anger that drives this.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are people hurting kids.
Right.
And that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things we can do. So parents, in a practical sense, start with this mandate of I must be my kid's parent first.
Okay.
When I go talk to kids, what's amazing? Yeah. People think, how can you go talk to kids about the holy grail of like their cell phones and Fortnite and all this kind of stuff? And it's like you must just get laughed right out of the room. It's like kids want to be told the truth.
Right.
Listen, we know the truth sets us free.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing in these settings with kids in these schools. You go in there and you tell them, listen, you're doing these kind of things online.
Yep.
Here's the repercussions. Here's the story from 2 weeks ago in a school just like yours.
Right.
kids step up and respond.
Okay. So it's almost like they have a light bulb that goes on for themselves.
Because they're living this.
Exactly. And they know the reality that this really is true.
They absolutely do.
Okay. So let's talk to parents or grandparents or whatever. Yep. And let's start from the very beginning. Like what can a parent do to foster a relationship with their child that enables them to be able to communicate with their child so that there's not this idea that I'm the parent and
Sure.
you're going to do what I say and you have to be perfect.
So one of the examples I use with students is I go, you guys have to, because this is kind of the exaggerated concept that kids have of adults today.
Okay.
There's this complete disconnect of kids who are spending so much time online because everything online is so fantastical.
Right.
The graphics are off the hook amazing.
Sure.
And then you're going to come sit down and talk with mom or dad.
Yeah, right. Let's choose which one we want to do. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've been on Fortnite for 6 hours.
Right.
And you pull them off, and the dopamine release in the brain, there is a chemical addiction to that game. They're not bad kids, but you take them. Why does that kid want to punch a hole in the wall? Because you took them off there. So what we as adults have to do is we have to quit going these kids these days.
Right.
Because the kids are looking at us. Sometimes our interactions. Oh yeah, well when I was your age, I had to eat dirt. And I had to walk 14 miles uphill both ways
in the snow
in the summer. Right? It's like, so this is insane. Yeah. So kids, so adults need to go, these kids these days, understand what we unpacked last week. They're half brains.
Right.
It's God's design.
Right.
So we
need to stop that sentence. These kids these days.
Absolutely.
Take that out of our vocabulary.
Because when I do adult presentations, I unpack a whole bunch of socially acceptable addictions that kids are falling for.
Yeah.
And then we go, these kids these days, and they're all things we create as adults.
Man, yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it's on us.
Yeah.
So number one, get past that. Number two, develop a trusted relationship with that kid, whether if we're talking to parents, if it's your child,
right? Okay,
and understand where your kid is most vulnerable.
Right. Okay.
Every kid's going to have different levels of vulnerability. Some need tons of attention.
Okay.
Some need affirmation of words. Others need, hey, buy me something. Every kid's got this different level, and if they're not getting that level of affirmation from the most trusted adults in their lives, they are going other places to find it.
They're going to get it. They're going to get it.
They absolutely will.
They're not cookie cutter kids is what you're trying to say. Every kid is going to be a little bit different. As a parent, that's your responsibility to determine what your kid needs and where they're going to be most vulnerable.
That's it.
Whether that's loneliness or that's quality time, gifts, all those kind of things play into it.
Yep.
Making sure that we're aware.
Yep.
That means that's our job to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
I can say this then as Crosspoints family.
Yep.
Don't neglect gathering together in God's house.
Yes.
With your kids.
Oh man, look at that! I don't even have to preach this, Russ. Go ahead.
The amazing kids ministry that we have here and the student ministry. If you as a family are not encouraging your kids to be involved and engaged on a weekly basis, you are actually, as an adult, doing them a disservice. I understand there's all kinds of other activities to be engaged in. I promise you that at some point in your life, you will look back and the most formative years of your kids as they're going through life right now, if you don't have the church, God's people, all the activities that are offered here, you will regret not having them have been part of that. I promise you.
I just have to stop for a second and say that is absolutely 100% true. I had a conversation with someone years ago, and I was just, and the conversation was this, is that their kids were at a critical juncture, and the parents were coming to me for advice and help, and I looked at them in the eye, and I said this very same thing that you're saying right now. I'm saying, listen, sports are great and wonderful. Education is great and wonderful, and having high score, Johnson County mentality. Sure. But I said this very same thing. I said, listen, you are going to regret it. They're going to miss out on what God wants to develop in them through this church. And it's not a selfish thing. I'm doing it for them. As a result of my conversation with them, they made a conscious effort to be here consistently, and their kids are turning out amazing now. And again, it's not just Crosspoints. It's they're taking the lead as parents. We're doing our part as the church. And I think as we do that hand in hand, it will change the culture of the kids that we're raising.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
Anyway.
that's critical and important. Now, don't just rely on that and go, okay, so I'm bringing them to church. That means they can't be harmed online.
And I would be the first one to say that as well. Yes.
So the next steps are
Okay.
understand that technology is not the enemy.
Okay.
We can actually use technology to help keep our kids safer on technology.
Okay, so we're not saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're saying, listen, I mean, right now in the Shawnee Mission School Districts, we have laptops,
Yep.
right? Every kid has a laptop,
Yep.
so it's there. We got to learn how to use the equipment.
Yep.
Okay.
So now the reality check on that
Okay.
is I know of kids who have told me they are sharing pornography on school-issued MacBooks and iPads using Google Classroom.
Yep, I know. Let me tell you, my kids are in junior high, and my kid showed me about the whole idea of Google Drive and how
Yep.
they get around all of the censorship stuff.
That's right.
So it's hard, even for a district that's trying to lock down as much as they can.
Yep.
It just goes to show you can't lock down everything.
That's it. And we have to have a realistic conversation about that as parents first, not our kid's best friend.
That's right.
If you're going to be your kid's best friend, you're going to let them have heyday on any electronic device they want all day long.
That's
now
right.
you're their best friend.
Right.
If you're going to be their parent, you're going to
Yep.
make some uncomfortable decisions that
Right.
other families may not agree with. You know what I say to that? Tough darts.
Exactly. We're not all going to be the same. Every family is going to have different, unique
You
situations.
have to make
and it's okay.
so set that and then be consistent.
Okay. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for most parents out there. I mean, I'll be honest, that's the hardest thing that we have.
Yep.
We start to insist on something, and then 6 months later, it's like, well, we
Yeah.
used to do that, but
Kinda
we
let
don't do that
slide.
anymore. Yeah.
And it's okay to back. So one of the tools that we provide
Okay.
is a simple cell phone contract.
Okay. So,
It applies into social media, and it is literally an agreement that you write down. That
Okay.
if you're in my family, you're my kid,
Yeah.
I'm your parent, and here's the contract we're going to sign because I'm paying for that phone, or I own that
Right,
game,
right. It's
or
my- it's
whatever
my
that,
device, it's my
whatever that
phone.
electronic
Yeah.
thing is, and here's how we're going to operate. And what that does is allows for consistency. So in 6 months, when we kind of vision leaked,
Yes.
we had this great thought,
Yeah.
and then we go back to what we put on paper. Listen, we all agreed to this, and it's important for us as parents to look our kids and I say, you know what, I blew it. I'm sorry.
right.
Please forgive me. And now we're going to kind of bring this back full center.
That's
And
good.
when we do that with our kids, we begin to develop a culture to where our kids can come and tell us anything without us freaking out.
Yeah. That's okay.
Some
Okay,
of
hold
the
it.
things-
Hold it. Before you get into that, though, I want to ask. A contract. You said you make that as a resource available. Can they go
Yep.
down to your
It's on our
website?
website, yep.
It's on the website. We'll put a link in the description for that
Yep.
because I would encourage you. Maybe if you have kids that are in that age, think about the possibility, and they can probably edit that document to kind of
Absolutely.
what they want to put within that
Absolutely.
contract.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now let's talk about the idea of how do we engage in conversations and what does that look like with our kids so that they'll trust us.
Yeah. So the first thing that parents have to do is be honest
Okay.
and talk about their own issues and their own struggles.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we got to be absolutely authentic.
Yeah.
Okay. Dads who are raising boys
Yep.
need to have the honest conversation
Yeah.
about pornography.
Okay.
And dads raising girls need to have the honest conversation about the role of pornography.
Okay.
32% of porn users in America are women
Wow.
on Pornhub.
I never.
The site, remember y'all were going to go to last week and
Yeah.
shut that down? Those are Pornhub's own analytics, and the increase from 2018 to 2019, they saw a 2% increase in growth amongst porn users amongst females.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Well, so it gives us understanding
Yeah.
into why our girls are increasingly willing to take their clothes off
Because
and
it's
take a
what-
picture.
it's what they're
because
seeing
we are
and experiencing.
normalizing
Yeah,
this
yeah.
entire process.
Yeah, exactly.
Not my kid.
Right.
Okay, well, who's to say?
Yeah.
So really, really critical. And then parents need to understand that. So on our website, there are several help items.
Okay.
One of I would recommend for every family
Okay.
to utilize a ministry called Covenant Eyes.
Yeah, it's great. Yep. We'll put that in the link in the description. I don't think we have time to talk about that
Yep.
necessarily, but please, if you have kids that are in that age, it really is a great program to put on all of your digital devices.
And the point for that is
Yep.
there are tools out there.
Yep.
But those tools aren't the answer.
Okay, this is because we like to have a box. If I just tick this and this
If I
and this,
just
I'm done.
if I just
I'm
spend
done.
$9.95 and
Yep.
put Covenant Eyes on all of our family
I'm good.
devices, we're set.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No. Okay.
Because you're-
engaging in the conversation is really critical with your kids.
It's about 3 words.
Okay.
It's
say.
about the exploitation of vulnerability.
vulnerability,
So
right.
you have to know the vulnerability in your kids as a parent,
Right.
not their best friend.
Right.
Then seek God.
Yeah.
Ask Him for wisdom.
Right.
How do I deal with this situation? He promises to give us wisdom when we ask for it.
Sure.
Then some practical things. Don't let your kid take that device into their bedroom at night ever. No electronics in any bedroom ever.
Right.
Don't, as a family.
It's just an easy system to put into place.
It's simple.
Yep.
Don't have electronics at the dinner table on the few occasions when you actually get to be all
the
together.
2 or 3, we talked about this with Pastor Andy. 2 or 3 times that you have that.
The handful of times you have dinner,
Right.
just have conversation and don't use those devices.
Right.
Well, how am I going to wake up in the night, in the morning if I don't have my phone by my? Okay, so they sell alarm clocks. They still sell alarm clocks, so go buy an alarm clock, and it's a great practice to have the family's devices all together in one spot. It sends a great message.
Yeah, that's good.
So there are so many practical steps that we can take as adults to show our kids that we trust them.
Yeah.
And that's really what the kids need to hear. They need to know that I'm going to be authentic with you. I'm going to admit to my own struggles in an appropriate way. Don't go crazy with this.
Right.
There's wisdom in that too.
Yeah.
So that when your kid has made a mistake, because see what's happening, what's heartbreaking and at the same time humbling and honoring is far too often I'm the first trusted adult kids are coming and talking to.
Right. Which is great, but that shouldn't be the case. Come on.
That's right. Yeah. And that's happening in communities all over.
Okay, and the way in which we foster that level of communication is creating an environment in our family where we're not expecting our kids to be perfect.
That's right.
And every time that our kid makes a mistake and we yell at them, that's one less time they're going to come and talk to us about some issue that's going on in their life. Let me tell you, I have done this with my boys. Every mistake they make, I'm like, the first thing I say is, thank you so much for talking to me. I want to help you walk this through. And now they know, and I've told them this. I said, listen, there is nothing that's ever too big, too bad, too wrong that you can ever do that's going to remove my love for you. And we're going to work on this together.
Sounds kind of like what Jesus would say.
You imagine that?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
So we did a training in a church, and a pastor, one of the staff pastors, came to me 2 weeks afterwards.
Yeah.
And he goes, we went home and had a serious conversation with my kids.
Right.
He goes, my 8-year-old came to me. He said, Dad, I need something to tell you. He said, my heart started pounding. My palms are sweating. He goes, he said, do you remember what we've been talking about, Dad? And he said, I need to tell you something. And he begins to unpack this story. This is a good kid. About how it wasn't his device, but at school, one of his friends says, hey, I got something to show you.
Yeah.
And this pastor, who's a dad first, he said, Russ, he said, I was struggling to hear. He said, I could hear my heart pounding in my ears.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He said, and what my son unpacked for me, he said, I swallowed hard, and I remembered this. Our battle's not against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers. The underlying thing of this is the enemy's out to destroy the lives of our kids.
Without question.
And so he stepped up, and this little boy, 8 years old, tells him what he experienced, everything. And Dad is able to, in an appropriate way, hug his son and do exactly what you do with your boys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for telling me this.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry you experienced that.
Right.
Now I'm going to lead you through it.
Exactly. And I'm telling you this, for parents that are out there, that you get to a point where your kids are willing to tell you something, you're going to have to swallow hard and smile and hug them and love them. That should be your first response. It really should.
I tell parents all the time, go ahead and freak out on the inside.
Yeah, right?
Stay cool, calm, and collected on the outside.
Exactly.
And let your kid know that you love them unconditionally.
Because let me tell you, if you can develop this, the younger they are, the problems are going to get bigger as they get older. And you yourself have to be prepared for the escalation of these issues that they're going to be dealing with. Yeah.
So years ago, I had a really disgusting experience happen to me that's kind of the foundational story for what we do with kids in school assemblies and churches. And so I was in India, and it was really hot. And I was out of water. And they have a cola product in India called a Thumbs Up. And so it's not as carbonated as a Coke, and it's a little bit sweeter. And so I was really thirsty. So I bought 2 of them. I thought, I'm going to chug the first one, enjoy the second one.
Right.
So I'm in the capital city, New Delhi, India. It is blazing hot. And I chugged this thing. I ended up with a dead cockroach in my mouth. That's the foundational story.
Right.
When we go into school
Can I
assemblies.
tell you this? My boys go to Trail Ridge, and they came home telling me this story. And let me tell you, like as a junior high kids, they were engaged in this story.
And so
you have this. I'm sorry, you have this cockroach in your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay,
so when in school assembly, I unpack how disgusting it is to have a cockroach in your mouth.
And they're loving it.
They love it.
Yeah.
And because they're half brains.
Right, exactly.
Right?
I know. That's the first thing they said. Daddy had a cockroach in his mouth.
So there are schools I go to every year, and I'll walk in. If their schools have heard the presentation, they'll walk in and go, you're the cockroach guy. Exactly. I'm like, yes, what's it mean?
Okay, so right. So I don't want just a disgusting story.
And this is the teachable moment.
Okay.
So we know the science of it. If you drink nothing but cola, you're not going to be healthy.
Right. Okay, every kid knows that.
We know, honestly, we should drink nothing but water.
Right.
Now, who lives that way? It's okay in moderation.
Sure.
That represents the online screen time of kids. So it's critical for parents to understand this. Yeah. We know the science of it. Kids should have no screen time at all as their brains are developing.
Right.
It's literally not how even our education system works today.
Oh, I know. Laptops, iPads, all the stuff that they have, they're training, all that. So it's not reality.
So the message is in moderation.
Okay.
It's okay to be on your game, but not for 9 hours straight.
Right.
Maybe 30 minutes and then take a break.
Yeah.
Because there are cockroaches out there, and the cockroach represents predators, and it represents, in the criminal world we work with, pimps, traffickers, spotters looking to harm kids. And so the message is, as we unpacked last week, kids are half brains. The message to kids is, listen, whenever you're online, I need you to be a half brain looking for cockroaches. That's good. Which for the really little kids is anything that makes me feel unsafe online.
Yep.
Up into our older kids, someone asking me for hot picks, meet me in person.
Yep.
I'm a half brain online looking for cockroaches, and when I experience something, I will go to a trusted adult.
Yeah.
And that's the simple message.
Right.
Then
and
we
the
as
responsibility for parents, I was just getting ready to say that.
Ready to parent them.
Right. To hear the story, not freak out, love them, hug them, and walk them through it.
Yep. And sometimes then we have to be ready as a community to actually take next steps.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to get law enforcement involved. Sometimes there's going to be a requirement for some counseling. Sometimes, unfortunately, there's going to be requirement to do some medical issues. Yesterday, a couple weeks ago now, I did a training for the sexual assault nurses in pediatrics at Children's Mercy Hospital. The things that they're seeing, horrendous. And underlying is the issue of pornography.
Okay. So, Russ, let's end it this way. Tell us what we can do to help you, your organization. First of all, I just have to say this, too, in the midst of this, is that I'm so glad that you're part of Cross Points Church.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be here.
I'm so glad to know that you're stepping into this world and that you're not just doing something to help end it, but you're creating a whole culture of people in terms of your communication and bringing people along with you. And you're not just doing it by yourself. Yeah. You're creating an organization that's saying, we're going to stop this, we're going to end it. So what can we do as a church, what can we do as individuals to help your project that you're doing?
So the primary things you can do is use your influence to open other doors where we can go talk to people. So if you know businesses that would be willing to have us come talk to them, we're open to that. If you have opportunities to get us open doors into schools, use your influence for that.
Okay, right, and I want to take time on this. What does that mean? So if somebody they're president of an organization or they know somebody, what does that look like? What do you guys do? How do you come into businesses in a school? Let's talk about those two in particular.
Yep, so businesses, we come in and we do general education because there's parents sitting in there.
Okay.
And a lot of times in the business community, they have no other opportunity to hear about something like this.
Okay.
So we go in and help them understand, number one, as a individual, but then also in their professional life, that they have to be aware of this understanding and help them unpack tools of what they can know. And then, of course, we always need money.
Right. We'll talk about the money in a second with the business guys.
Businesses will step up and sponsor a school.
That's so fantastic. What does that look like? Is it a couple hour program? Is it 1 hour thing? Or is it adaptive to their needs?
All of the
above.
What?
Okay.
Whatever they need.
Okay. All right. And then let's talk about school. So it would be great if we, especially in the Shawnee Mission School District, I think we've got a lot of parents that are involved in the schools or DeSoto or whatever. Email a teacher, email an administrator, and just say what? What can they say?
So everything we do is based on trusted relationships. So don't ask your school, hey, you want a group to come in and talk about sex trafficking? Because no.
Don't do that. Okay, see,
Don't
these
do
are what
that.
people don't know. So
Ixnay,
okay, don't do
no
that.
way, bado idea, okay? So that ain't gonna work. So go and say, hey, we're aware of this organization, and they're kind of focused on this issue I think we might be struggling with here in our school, and talk to them and say, hey, are we having issues with social media? Are our kids struggling?
Okay.
And
So
we
use
know
social
this-
media first.
it
That
is
we're
all
having
about
some
social
issues
media.
about social media.
And we've got a group that's going to come in and offer a creative way to talk about online safety.
Okay. So online safety is kind of the key word that we
That's
want to
the key
use
word.
at this point.
And then
Okay.
based it off your trusted relationship.
Okay. Yeah.
I never cold call schools. It's a waste of time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But I know that there are parents that are listening or grandparents or whatever that they have connections.
Yep.
And I think this is so valuable. It's so important. I know, again, my wife and I, we were at Shell Ridge Middle School. They had you come in and talk to parents in the library. And it was like, I mean, it was such an amazing thing that you put together for us in terms of opening our eyes. Yeah. So if you know people, please have a conversation with them and see if we can open up some doors. Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm just getting warmed up, so
I
we
knew-
could go
I knew he
forever,
was.
So
Well, Russ, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure we're going to get a ton of comments. Again, I want to encourage you to do this. Share this podcast. Please share this podcast. Let's stop it. Let's end it. Go to his website, click the links. And again, so glad that you were able to be with us.